Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here today. This is your one-stop shop for cryptocurrency analysis, among many other things. Now, we're taking a look here today at Serum, which is SRM. This is a recommendation from my community members, one of my patrons. So thank you so much for asking that I cover this here, Paris. I really do appreciate you. Now, moving forward, I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only. You should do your own research at all times and make sure that you take ownership of your own trades. It's really important you do that, and you just need to learn as much as you can from as many people as possible. Hopefully I can be one of those. I try to educate as much in my videos as I can to ensure you're more of an effective trader so you can learn to trade for a lifetime and not just for one day. Now, I have a lot of my patrons that are more so on autopilot. They prefer to kind of learn vicariously through my trades. I share my trades with my community members, so check that out, link in the description below. I provide signals with my entry points, best practice, as well as, take profit targets and sell targets. So just anything you really need to become more of an effective trader, because you kind of get a day in the life of my trading styles and my habits there. Some weeks are heavy, some weeks are light. Of course, that's just the way the market goes. But I'm more of a patient trader, and I kind of usually average about 80% success rate overall. So check that out in your own time. And without further ado, let's just go ahead and get to the charts. Let's get to it. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look here today at Serum, which is SRM. And if you're new to the channel, we always look at Bitcoin and Ethereum first to get a baseline in the market so we understand specifically what's going on, because honestly, you can't make an informed decision without all the information, right? And the top two largest coins in the industry, specifically Bitcoin, are very important to understand. Also Ethereum too, just so we understand also, because there's, Ethereum blockchain, a lot of coins are reliant on that as well. So moving forward, let's go ahead and take a quick look here. First things first, we're going to look at Bitcoin, and this is the 4-hour chart. Just to preface though, I use TradingView.com desktop application. I recommend you use the same thing as well, just based on how excellent it is as a charting tool. I recommend the paid versions too. I have a link in the description below for a discount if you'd like, just to get a full month free, kind of see if you like it or not. I can tell you it is beneficial because you can use more than 2 indicators on the chart at any given time, which is important because I cycle through about 5, 6, maybe 7 different indicators at any given time, depending on the time frame. So just something to be aware of. Now looking here at Bitcoin for the 4-hour chart, we've got interesting price action here today. We've got a strong support kind of creating itself here at about 44,700. It's been tested about 6 times. It's trying to break. Once it breaks, there's a good chance we might see it come down to maybe proceed all the way to about 42,500. Hoping that's not the case, but this does feel a little bearish right now just based on the overall sentiment here. We've got a few legs down, and we'll see what happens. Keeps getting rejected at about 45,800, but major resistance is presently about 46,500, as well as a major resistance above that at about 47,800. Okay, so you can pretty much say 48,000 upwards of 50,000 is a strong channel there that will be difficult to break just based on previous price action. But either way, that's kind of the state of Bitcoin at this point. Forgot to mention as well, the simple moving average is working as a resistance, the 50. This is the 50-day simple moving average. It's presently a resistance level, so we have that milestone as well to work within. So we got to pass the 50, past 46,500, and then on to 47,800, or just say round number 48,000. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at right now. On the good side here, though, we did have a doji candle close in the last 24 hours. Okay, and this is very helpful because it's a bullish harami, and it's also a doji. Okay, so it's a good indication of the fact that it could reverse and the market could swing back upwards, because commonly when you have a doji candle, that basically just means that the full 24-hour period, the price went up and down and came right back to where it started. So a lot of times it spends that much time there, again, creating those support levels we just identified. It could and likely should increase past there, because we now have 2 days where the price is stuck at about 44,700. All right, so there's some silver lining there for you. Moving on to Ethereum. Looking at Ethereum, of course, we got pretty similar situation here. Prices under the 50. We got a resistance at about 32,000. Correction, 3250. 300. Sorry. Okay, I can't speak today. 3,250. I wish it was 32,000. That would be very nice. Moving on, though, we're looking at about 2,900 as a support level, and then below that, we are also at about 2,400. So 2,400, 2,900, the two major support levels for Ethereum at this point, minus the 200 that is slowly making its way back up. All right, moving on to Serum. Let's see what's going on here. Let's look at the 1-day chart for a few reasons to identify its average true range before the Bitcoin sell-off. Also note as well, the moving averages are working both as support levels, so the price, ever since it broke the 200, has been going on a tear, right? So obviously in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, four trading days, basically, we've seen a significant increase of right in the range of about a little over 50%, maybe 50 to 60%. And that's pretty significant. So that's really good. We like to see that. Obviously, it's a lot of growth, but we need to see some sideways action maybe soon to ensure that this bull run can continue, which is why it is right now. If you look at this, we had one red day. That's actually fantastic. So August 17th was necessary. That had to happen because of the fact that the increase we saw yesterday in the last 24 hours would not have occurred without that retracement. Okay. So, ideally you want to see a staircase pattern. I'll show you on shorter time frames what that looks like, but there's a good chance that this is forming or had formed that previously and might need to again. But looking at the average true range for this guy here, let's look. First of all, April 27th was the first major sell from Bitcoin. That's right here. So Serum spent its most time, right here at about $4, upwards of, approximately $4 to $7. So between $4 and $7, it spent its most time when Bitcoin was at 50 to 64,000. Okay, so just try to remember that, right? Because bear in mind, right now the price is at $8 and the price of Bitcoin is at 44,000 and some change. Okay, so that basically means it's I wouldn't say overextended, but it's higher than it was averaging before the Bitcoin sell-off. Okay. Obviously, it ramped up really hard on April 25th. This was a pretty normal occurrence for a lot of altcoins. They ramped up really hard here and then nosedived on the 19th, which obviously is the second Bitcoin sell-off with the China candle. Looking at the RSI, obviously we're up over 70, but that's creating somewhat of a support level. Sometimes you'll see that the RSI over 70, when it stays above for a while, it continues to work as a support level when it's on a good bull run. Again, it needs to have those leg ups and those sideways action in order for that to happen, but that is generally the idea. Furthermore, too, we didn't even have a convergence here. It was just continuation, which was on the, 21st, sorry, that's the 2021, rather the 13th, which was about 5 days ago. So it's been on a tear for the last 5 days. All right, moving on to the 4-hour. Let's go ahead and see what's going on here. First of all, obviously, the 50-day simple moving average is working as a strong support level, driving the price up. The 200 is trailing behind. We've got the RSI is just barely peaking up over 70, so there's still more room for growth, which is fantastic. And also, we have a convergence, a very strong convergence on the MACD at approximately 1 o'clock this morning. Okay, so 1 a.m. Pacific, we got a convergence on the MACD. Let's go ahead and mark that guy there for us. I like to draw this line here so we can see the correlation between the Ishimoku cloud and the 1-hour chart. Oftentimes there's a symbiotic relationship between the two, which is nice because they're just, if you miss one window, you have another one as well to kind of consider when going long. All right, so that's kind of what we're looking at there. One other thing to note before we move on any further, let's go to the 1-day chart, see if we can identify any support levels or rather resistance. And big surprise, the price is resisting at right around 805, 807. So we can see it was tested once, twice, and worked as a support a few times here. So we'll go ahead and mark that because that is the major resistance right now. Potential support if it can break above in the next 21 and a half hours. So we got a little bit of time to get this candlestick to close, but that's generally what we're looking at there. If you look at the 4-hour chart, you can see it's rejecting right there at about, we could say 810 because it's really close to $8.10. And then other than that, really not much else to note on the 4-hour chart or the 1 day. Let's go to the 1 hour and quickly identify the Ishimoku cloud. All right, cool. So this is pretty close here. But just to clarify, if you're new to the channel or if the Ishimoku cloud in general, first things first, if you enable it on your own, you're going to be a little confused. You want to disable the first 5 indicators. They're very helpful in their own right, but they're unnecessary if you're trying to keep it simple and have less noise on your chart, which I recommend. You should have no more than 2 indicators present on each given time frame. But here with the 1-hour chart, you can kind of see what's going on. First of all, the price above the cloud is considered a buy signal, right? So just say back here, you went ahead and took in a long position, you would have netted yourself a pretty decent profit, somewhere in the range of 50%. Again, depends on obviously where you sold, but 25 to 50% increase there. And then of course, the same thing happened here as well. So say you took entry when the price came above the cloud, you'd be at about 17%. So those are some decent profits, and those happen because the Ishimoku cloud indicates when there's a bullish trend, or more so when the price is above the cloud, it's considered a buy signal. When it's below, it's considered a sell. And when it's in the cloud, like right here, for example, you do not buy, you wait, right? That's why the convergence on the MACD kind of correlates, because on the 4-hour chart, this gives us a buy signal right here. X marks the spot. And you actually got an indication before that when the Ichimoku cloud broke above right here. So you could have literally got in an extra 5% earlier, somewhere in the range of 4 to 6 hours prior to that. Okay. So again, just something to note. It's very, very helpful to utilize that. Let's also take a quick look at TD sequential. And this guy is interesting as well because it helps us understand market exhaustion. Right now, we don't have a full-on extension. And what I'm mentioning here is that, if you're new to TD sequential, it basically helps you understand when there's exhaustion, right? So let's take a look here at this retracement. You see how it counted from 1 to a 9 and then it got a bunch of funky highlighted colors here? That basically means we're in overtime. So in that 9-hour time frame, the bears took complete control and the price action dropped very low. Okay. Now that being said, that's normally a time in which the price will retrace, but commonly what happens is right when the 9 occurs, it tells you, okay, the market is exhausted in this direction, the likelihood of a reversal is high. Yes, this continued on much further, and that does happen quite often with significant retracements. Bear in mind the price action jumped up really high, so it had to retrace. But when you see a 9, it's very frequent for the price to want to turn itself around in the relative near future. Sometimes you get these extensions that go a lot longer than they should, but it's only because the price was overextended in the first place. All right, so that's just something I like to highlight and to note on the 1-hour chart. Those are two extremely important indicators not a lot of people utilize. Moving on to the 15, let's see if we can find a good entry point or just identify how to jump into a good entry. And what I do is I utilize the EMA and VWAP notification. This is a signal, or correction, an indicator that I created that I provide to my community members that essentially allows for people to understand when a good buy signal is, right? So if you can see these little yellow up arrows, oftentimes it'll notify you just before a bull run happens. And the main reason why is because it's using the EMA and the VWAP in conjunction. Now, this is something I've formulated over the years, and it seems to work out very, very well. It increases my success rate from like a 60 to 80% overall, and it's extremely helpful. First of all, just so you know, if you're not familiar, I do provide signals to my trading community. So in my Patreon account, if you'd like to check that out in your own time, definitely reference that because I actually share all of my trades with my community members and I utilize this system here. And what it is basically the EMA and VWAP. So the VWAP is the volume weighted average price. That's this blue line here. It might be a different color, of course, depending on what indicators you use, but VWAP is extremely important because it gives you a standard deviation within a 24-hour period of what the volume is reflecting of the price. In other words, if we take this VWAP line here and the price is above, it's considered to be a support level. When the price is below, it's considered a resistance. You can see right here the price came down, was under EMA, but bounced off VWAP here and continued back upwards. That's a good sign of a bull run there. So the easiest way to understand it is the VWAP, the volume weighted average price, takes the last volume of the 24-hour period and expresses it as a price. And it's a continuous support and resistance level, right? So instead of drawing your own, you can kind of work on it with the price. It's only good in the 15-minute chart or lower. It's a day trading tool, but it's used in conjunction with long-term swing trading effectively if you work your way down from the one-day chart, which I do. So in this case here, obviously the price is bouncing off VWAP, therefore the price is ramping back up, but it hit this resistance. It's hit this resistance twice now, and we'll see if it can break above. Okay. So if all goes well, we get that 4-hour chart, or the 4-hour candlestick to close above $8.10, and then that's the new support level moving forward. Because if you can break, this is, again, the support level is based on a previous all-time high. If we can break that, there's a strong likelihood we'll see this continue upwards. Now, another thing to note too is we want to see a staircase pattern. We kind of see this here, if you see up and over. That's a good indication of a bull run. So I do like the way this is progressing. It retraced, yes, but that was a necessary retracement to be able to allow for the reset on the price action and the shorts to get squeezed out, as you can see right here, and the price just continued upwards. All right, so just little things to pay attention to, but back to the EMA and VWAP. Again, price is over VWAP, that's considered a support level. When the price is over EMA, that's considered bullish momentum. The same indicators on the MACD. They use the EMA 12 and the 26 intersects upward for convergence, downward for divergence. That's essentially the concept. So when the price is over the EMA, and this is the EMA 15, by the way, apologize I didn't mention that. The EMA 15, it basically helps us understand the momentum, right? So let's just say, for example, we look back here where these two little yellow carrots are telling us. So these yellow up arrows are built into this notification. What it does, it tells you when the price is over EMA and VWAP, which is check number 1, check number 2. But furthermore, it also tells you when you have good confirmation. Because jumping in arbitrarily when your price is above VWAP and EMA doesn't really matter that much. Yes, it increases your odds, but it doesn't increase it as much as it should. What adds that filling, so to speak, is to ensure that you take entry when the price is above EMA and VWAP, but also when you have 30 minutes of confirmation in the direction you want to head. So for the bears, 30 minutes of red candles. For the bulls, 30 minutes of green candles. That's what this is basically telling us. We've got 30 minutes confirmation above EMA and VWAP. Take entry here. Price action jumps up, and it went up to that's about a 20% increase there in just, I don't know, 7-8 hours. So that would have been a pretty awesome position. So what you do is you basically do this, and you mark where 10% is at. You'd set that as your stop loss, or your sell limit rather, and then you would have gained yourself 10% pretty easy. Again, different strokes for different folks, of course. It depends on what you're planning to do. If you're going long, of course, for a long-term swing trade, you might want to hold on a bit longer. But just keep in mind, Serum is a bit on the overextended side compared to its average true range, right? So we're higher right now than it spent most of its time before Bitcoin sold off. So if that tells you anything, there's a chance this might be the ceiling, but if it breaks above and holds support, it will continue upwards, and that might reflect that it has more continuation. And we are still a little early in this run here. I think we can get a few more hours of continuation. So look, we're at a 5, and it's trying to break above. That's a good sign. We should have hypothetically another 4 to 6 hours worth of bullish momentum. And if, again, we can get the 4-hour candlestick to close above this, even just say a 1-hour candlestick to close above this, this support level of $8.10, we're going to be in pretty good shape. So what I recommend here, if you're to consider taking entry when the price is above, go ahead and do so. Just make sure you set a stop loss or a stop limit at $7.90 or $8 even, kind of a tight one there, to ensure you don't lose out completely. Or if you're already in the green, you're trying to extend that, feel free to consider moving your stop loss up just to ensure that you take profits. There's nothing worse than leaving money on the table. I see it happen all the time, and I've done it plenty of times in the past too. So you're not alone. Trust me on this. It's not an exact science either. Yes, there's so many times you're going to get a 2 or 3% gain, and tomorrow it 2 or 3x, and you missed out on a lot of income. I did the same thing for ADA. Sold at 150. It jumped up to 210 or 220 in a matter of 3 days. Frustrated the hell out of me, but it happens, right? It's not a perfect exact science, but I still took profit. I'm not upset with it. That's the way it should be. That's how trading is. So get kind of used to that if you're new. If not, that's okay too. You know how it goes. The ebbs and flows of trading. It can be ever so tumultuous. So if you found benefit here, please feel free to consider liking, subscribing, joining my Telegram community course. There's a free membership there. There's no cost for that. But more importantly, the Patreon account if you'd like to consider sharing your support or showing it. And of course, interested in sharing my trades and kind of just being part of that. It's growing a lot faster than I expected. In only 2 months, we're at 45, I think, members so far, which is much higher than I expected originally, just based on the fact that it is a paid service. So either way, check that out in your own time. Recommend the first of the month, of course, if possible, just because you get the most benefit. And if you have any questions, feel free to message me on Telegram at CryptoCashTech or any other social medias down below. Link in the description below. Thanks again for your time. Look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care.